And I think we need to invest further in the best technology, start producing higher volume work more competitively, so we can start manufacturing our own goods that we can not only sell to ourselves, but sell them goods around the world. That needs to be our ambition.
So welcome to this week's MTD Podcast. I'm Paul Jones, the host of today's show. I'm the managing director and founder of MTDCNC.com. Now, the theme of today's podcast is we're going to be talking about probably a subject that we all wish was behind us. It's that dreaded COVID word, but we're going to be talking about the interesting part of it, if there is one, which is, has it made us think out of the box in manufacturing here in the UK? Joining me on this week's podcast, I have the pleasure of being with Giovanni Albanese, another proud member of the MTD CNC team, and Kasra Miraki from who's a consultant for CNC design and procurement. Gentlemen, welcome to this podcast. Kasra, how are you keeping?
Hi Paul, I'm very good. Thanks for inviting me over.
That's okay. You keeping busy these days?
Yeah, actually very busy during the past 3 or 4 months. I've been very busy. Yeah.
And then, of
so
course,
many projects coming through. Yeah.
And I know who is busy as well. Gio, you're keeping yourself entertained, aren't you? Around
too busy. It's good news though. It's a good problem to have. I think that there are definitely big signs of things that are picking up. So it's fantastic.
There is, and before we get into our topic, it's probably a good. I mean, I haven't been in one of these podcasts for a little while, and I do really enjoy them. And since the last time I was on one, UK manufacturing has become really buoyant. The production managers index is on the increase all the time. We're seeing lots of new machinery being purchased, and what's really good is that the doors are open again. We're able to get out and get into these factories and see these solutions that are what we live and breathe to see, really. So it's all good positive stuff. Kasra, right, let's get into our subject, because throughout today's podcast we're going to touch on the things that what are we now thinking differently since COVID has hopefully now it's on its way out, but are we thinking differently in manufacturing? We're going to be talking about lean manufacturing, FMS systems, the implementation of robots and cobots, hardware and software. All of these elements will feature throughout today's podcast. But I suppose just to give us a quick opinion from both of you, really, starting with you, Kasra, do you think things are going to change? Are we thinking much differently now to what we were 18 months ago?
Well, for sure, because we can actually see the market is heating up again, especially during the past 6 or 7 months. Since the vaccines have been rolling out, especially in the UK, we can see the demand is getting higher and higher for new production facilities, machinery, and all the things that you touch there. So I think the market is eventually coming out of that recession, and they're thinking that then life needs to go on, and we need to keep investing, and we need to keep producing, and we need to keep those spindles turning to make money. So eventually, I think people have realized that by implementing these new methods to work from home and getting used to this new normality, and also the lockdown has been easing out, I think it's become more common now for people to get used to this kind of working, and the wheels of industry is turning again, I think.
And with your position, probably a good point for those that don't know of you or haven't had the pleasure of hearing what you do as part of your occupation. I mentioned you're obviously a consultant for CNC sort of design and procurement, but what does that involve, and how have you seen in that role, and what gives you the belief that these things are going to change? What do you do, Kasra?
Well, I try to help my customers to find the best bespoke solution for their manufacturing production lines. Basically, when my customers, they have an inquiry for a new machinery, they have two options. They either have an engineering department, and they will go and find a solution for their parts, or to manufacture the parts, or they can come to me And what I do is to try to find the best available machine on the market for their solution. Because if you go to a dealer or a machine manufacturer, they would always say, yeah, we can obviously produce this part without any problems. Everybody's claiming to be the best in everything. But what I do is, being an independent and not representing any specific company, I can easily suggest the best bespoke solution for that individual customers and the individual needs.
And I'm sure people listening to this are thinking, so I'm going to ask the question, where do you earn your coin doing this?
Well, my business model is quite strange. I suggest I normally tell my customers that my price for a specific project is fixed. So I would ask the customer, what is your budget to buy the machine? Because I don't get any money from selling that machine. The customer would buy the machine directly from the machine producer. What I do is I'll be the middleman, so I will be representing my customer to the machine producer, and the customer would just pay me a fixed fee or a fixed price for my consultancy service.
Which I suppose is a win-win, isn't it? Because the client, the engineer buying the machine, by selecting the right model and getting the right technology for them, they're going to, either reduce their cycle times, or they're going to make the parts better and more efficiently. So they're going to gain there, and you're going to gain because you've been paid. It sounds like a good chain, doesn't it, Gio?
Yeah,
absolutely. I think it sounds like a fantastic job.
You're one of a few. I don't know many people here in the UK that are practicing this. Do you, Gio?
I don't know many consultants that work in the way that Kasra does, but I'm sure that there'll be more and more like Kasra in the years to come. And just going back to your question, do you think things have changed? After COVID, I think that they have already changed. I think that we are now playing. We're playing a different game. We're not playing the same game as we were playing before COVID. The game has changed, and the only certainty in life is change. And we've all had to change in one way or the other in our personal lives and in our work lives. And I've certainly seen a lot of change in our industry. The adoption of automation is probably the biggest change that I've seen so far, or even if they haven't
happening anyway, wasn't that?
It's been accelerated massively. I think that people that maybe before COVID didn't consider automation are certainly considering it now. I've heard stories that people are going to look for machine tools, and prior to COVID they'd just buy the machine tool. Now they're actually asking the questions, what automation solutions can I get with that machine tool? So their mindsets have changed, and I think that the only way now to remain competitive following COVID and to reshore the work is not only to buy the best machine tools for that application, but to also automate and to be a lot more savvy with the equipment that you've already got on site, to get the most out of that equipment, whether that be through the best work holding and everything that we discuss on the MTD platform.
I mean, coming up, we are going to talk about, FMS systems to sort of further your points, Gio, about automation, pallet changes, cobots and robots. What I'd like to ask you, Kasra, is about the reliance of competitive manufacturing and how important it is to the UK. Now, you have inroads to various markets around Europe and around the world, but with Brexit that's obviously happened, or we're still, it has happened, but we're now experiencing this new world plus the COVID thing. Where does the UK fit, Kasra, and how important is it for us to be more competitive and to think outside the box now?
Well, I think especially the government has been trying to boost the manufacturing and bring the manufacturing back to the UK now, because you can see all different sorts of schemes that has been going on. I just read a month ago they are investing £90 million in 3D printing, and I think a third of it is going to Renish, so it's a grant for them, and more than £250 million is being invested in Bristol area in aerospace in 2021. So obviously the government is trying to push the manufacturing practices to invest more and try to bring manufacturing back to the UK and because eventually they realize that sometimes it's not very good to be relying on other markets and other suppliers in different countries, and you need to be able to do some basic manufacturing in-house and domestically.
Yeah, it's about, I suppose, keeping control in a lot of ways, isn't it? Now we are an island and a trading island as independently. We do need more control, but it also offers us so much more flexibility, doesn't it? Could we become the manufacturing powerhouse in Europe, do you think, Kasra?
I think yes. If the mindset is right, I think there's a very good potential, because in the UK it was a manufacturing platform in the past. Maybe in the 50s or 60s or 70s, there was loads of manufacturing companies in automotive, in even machine tool manufacturers, but most of them they're gone from this country. But by the government trying to boost these manufacturing practices, I think there's a very good potential of this country becoming a source for manufacturing again.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much it grows in the coming year or so, won't it? Because that will be a real telling sign of the direction, I think.
I can't agree with both of you more here. I think that we need to become the masters of our own destiny once and for all. I think that we need to invest in ourselves and make ourselves more competitive
but when I talk about that powerhouse, Gio, where are the industries that we can take control and become that powerhouse in? Are we talking about the automotive sectors? Are we talking about medical technologies that are important? Are we talking about power transmissions? Are we talking about where are they?
Paul, I think all of them. I don't see no reason whatsoever why we can't be strong in every single sector. We're already producing parts for all sectors. We're very strong in aerospace in the UK. We've got so many subcontractors for aerospace in the UK. We've got a lot of automotive sites in the UK. We've got machine tool manufacturing sites in the UK. The skill set in the UK is excellent. The parts that we do are the best parts in the world, but we've just never been good at very high volume work. And I think that we just need to invest further in the best technology and start also producing higher volume work more competitively, so then that we can start manufacturing our own goods at a more competitive price that we can not only sell to ourselves but to sell them goods around the world. And I think that needs to be our ambition, and that needs to be our goal moving forward.
Yeah, no, I'm in total agreement with that. And part of the areas that we're going to be talking about now during this podcast is ones that you have great experience with, Kasra, and this is where we want to lean on your knowledge. Gio mentions about automation, and he talks about these areas of that automation now being included in proposals from machinery suppliers because they really know that they need it. What are the solutions and the options that are open to people? And let's start with maybe FMS systems. What are they and how do they work, and what are the benefits?
Well, it's a good point, Paul, because the need and the demand for, if we want to be more competitive, we need to invest in automation, obviously. And one of the main, or better say, one of the most important aspects in manufacturing is to be flexible. And FMS is short for flexible manufacturing systems, of course. And it's I would describe it as a business model or a business plan that it allows the manufacturing to quickly change over their production line. Well, obviously, most of us are using CNC machinery, and CNC machinery are extremely flexible because they use a G-code, an ISO program, and you can quickly change that program. What we need to what is holding us back in changing the production so quickly is tooling, work holding, and automation. The automation systems, well, normally if we are talking about robots and zero points and palette changes and maybe different kinds of sorting systems. They are also very flexible. But with the new innovations in work holding industry and in tooling industry, those are the two factors that may slow the flexibility of manufacturing process. It's actually catching up, and it's getting much better, especially with the new technologies that we can see in work holding industry.
Yeah, Kasra, I can give you one example from a visit that I was at yesterday. And this is a company that's been around for a long time, a very successful company selling into a niche market, Napier turbochargers. There's not many people that can make the componentry that they actually make, and they supply to the whole world. So they didn't really need to improve their process because they kind of had a niche market to sell to. However, they've now invested in the latest machine tools, 2-Grob machine tools that are automation prepped for an FMS cell. Now, not before they've even implemented the automation, the actual cycle times and cost per part reductions are absolutely astounding. But the knock-on effects that also has is the longevity of tools, which is a big, consumable cost. The transfer and the handling costs of components from one machine to another, you're all of a sudden you're doing less operations. But it's also made them more reactive, or should I say, is that the right word? They haven't got to hold as much stock. So now that they've got this FMS in place, they can make the parts that they need instantaneously on a system like this. And there's systems that you mentioned, some new technology. Like one that really impresses me is the tower from Hydrofeed. Now this tower, it utilises the height of the facility rather than the footprint and the space on the ground. But not only are you automating the parts now, you're also automating the work holding and the setups. So if you wanted to run different parts overnight, you're not just thinking, I'm going to do high volume work and that's the only thing that I can run 24/7. You can start thinking, well, you can start scheduling your work to run autonomously. And it's a game changer. And we're now privy to this information, aren't we, Paul?
We are, and I love these points, and I do find myself always talking about you should automate, you should add this system, you should. But it's still strikingly obvious within some manufacturing companies that they're not doing enough with the kit that they've got.
100%.
Before they even think about taking the next journey. I mean, I can recite an example, and I won't say the company name I was in the other day, that doesn't even measure how efficient their current machines are. So they don't look at, because automation's one thing to be competitive, but being efficient is also important to be competitive. If you're not efficient, you can automate as much as you want, but if there's a bottleneck somewhere or something's happening and you're not able to identify where that is, you've got no hope. And I was in a company that has invested £1 million in the last year in machine tool technologies, which is brilliant. It really is good. But there is one weakness there which I identified with the MD, is that he wants to measure exactly what he's getting out of those machines before he can really assess the success of the investment and before he makes his next move. So his next investment is in working out the efficiency of what he's got, because there's no point in then going bolting an automation solution onto one of his other machines when he actually finds out that he's only 25% efficient on one of his other machines. So these are areas that are really overlooked as well, and I think will improve. That's
an absolutely fantastic point, I think, in UK manufacturing, and I think that it's a point that kind of goes back to the title or the subject of this podcast, Paul. I think that there has been such complacency in our industry for such a long time, and people have just made do with what they've got. They've been working still in very traditional ways. They've not kind of had any KPIs in place within their facility to be able to assess their performance and improve it, because if you don't know where you are, you don't know how to improve it. And I think that really COVID has really called out all these businesses, because I think that they now realise we can't remain the same as we were before. We need to change. change if we want to stay competitive and stay alive. Because I think that, and I don't mean to sound negative, but I think that there are going to be casualties through COVID, and the casualties are going to be the companies, like you mentioned, that are reluctant to change, scared to change, and want to continue the way and work the way in which they've worked, for many years. The companies that are embracing automation, embracing technology, embracing Industry 4.0, and have got a good, clear strategy in their head, they've got KPIs in place, are the ones that are going to move forward. And they're the ones that are going to be competitive, not just within the UK, but globally. And they're the ones that are going to take the country forward. And I think,
how many of those are there?
Not enough at the minute. Not enough at the minute, Paul, in my opinion.
Is there's more that aren't than are?
100% agree. And it is a big problem, but it's a problem that we've got to overcome by podcasts such as this, because it comes down to breaking down barriers to entry. I think that some people are definitely scared at the minute because of COVID to invest. They may have the money to invest, but they're reluctant because of the uncertain world that we're in at the minute. And you can understand that. But in the same breath, we talk about being the master of your own destiny. If you do not invest, you're going to be getting left behind. And it's the same, we're a marketing company as well as an engineering company. You've had companies that have just stopped, kind of shut up shop and thinks, we'll close up and then we'll start up again when we come out. But what's happened is in reality, they've moved backwards and other companies have overtook them. So now they'll come out of COVID and be a lot further behind than they were when we went into COVID. And in the same breath, you've got companies that have been proactive, that have kind of been, took the bull by the horns, if you like, and said, right, we've got to do something, we've got to change, we've got to diversify. They've done that, and they have moved 3 or 4 steps up the chain, and won more work and becoming more profitable.
Kasra, lean manufacturing. I know what a lean person is. I've got one sitting on this chair at the moment.
Put a stone on Paul
Not you, me.
Right, yeah, you're lean now.
Lean manufacturing. Just walk us through in a few words what it is and what it can do for companies.
Well, you just mentioned companies being more efficient, and the efficiency of companies some companies are very low. Basically, lean manufacturing is all about reducing and cutting waste. So this waste can be on anything, can be the waste of material, waste of excessive production, or waste of filling out your inventory or excess inventory, I would say, and overproduction, which is you're producing something and then you need to put it in the warehouse, and it takes some time for your customers to come and collect them, and then eventually, lean manufacturing is all about improving your cash flow. So by producing less amount, but very flexible, it helps you to be able to quickly change your production to another thing, to be able to support multiple customers.
And how do you go about? How do companies do this? I mean, this is a word that's been being bounded around for decades almost, hasn't it? Even back in the 90s, we were talking about lean manufacturing. Yeah. In fact, I remember at a company I worked at, we employed the services of a company to try and work out whether we were lean or not lean, and to make us lean. Is that still the way to do it, Kasra?
Yeah, but a lot has been changed. Lean originally was introduced by Toyota in Japan, and it has some values that can only be gained when you have a Japanese mindset, and it's not a subject that we can quickly describe it. I even took a multiple week course on lean manufacturing to be able to completely understand it. And but the most important part of lean manufacturing is to try some suppliers for your parts that are very precise on delivery times. So by doing that, then you would order less amount of parts that you need to process daily, and then your company outcome will also go out of the company on the same day. So you're not investing and putting money on having a big inventory. And another part is Kaizen, which is a Japanese word for continuous improvement. So you have to continuously looking for some parts of the company that are not efficient enough and that are holding you back, and cutting or reducing downtimes. So these are the main factors and ideas behind lean manufacturing.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? You can relate it to any business, can't you? As well, though, not just manufacturing. Is making a business lean.
100%, Paul. I think that nothing in the world is perfect. If it was perfect, it's just not. Perfect is not a reality. It's impossible to be perfect. There's always room for improvement, and I think that in all aspects of businesses, there's room for improvement. I think within engineering, how many times we go around to, we've got the privilege to go around and see many manufacturing facilities, and with that privilege, we've got an idea of what works, what's efficient, what's not efficient, and it kind of can stand out like a sore thumb. But when you're cocooned within your own facility and you've been doing something, again, going back to been doing something for such a long time, you get into that habit. You don't know what you don't know, and it's hard to be able to see your own kind of errors, if you like, or your own inefficiencies. And I think that Hoffman Group UK is one company that really is starting to push this kind of, 5S, their push, which is very similar to what Kasra is talking about. And it's all about kind of trying to just use what you need to use, don't use what you don't need to use, have all of the equipment at hand, be organised. But ultimately, organisation is one of the key words in all of this lean manufacturing.
I mean, if you were to liken it to your house at home, you would have... like your food cupboards, you wouldn't have things in there that you hadn't eaten for 6 months, would you? And you'd make sure you'd got the ingredients for the... you can see, if you look in your cupboards, you open your doors, you can actually see that you're not being effective or efficient with your food sources, is that right?
Absolutely, Paul. And I think that one thing that's really...
I mean, yours is full of nuts and raisins.
Not anymore,
Rabbit
Paul. But I think I agree with you 100%. And I think that now some of the technologies, again, kind of trying to bring technology into play. Years and years ago, some technology wasn't available. Now that we're coming into Industry 4.0, so you've got these vending solutions now that can help and enhance productivity and efficiency and organisation. You can start monitoring and as you mentioned, monitoring your efficiencies within the company. But by having these vending solutions as well, not only can you kind of get your employees can have ownership of what they're using and when they're using it. You can also see what you're using the most. Why are we using so many end mills for that job? Is there a problem? Why do they keep breaking? Then you can start analysing the process as well. I know you've got something to say on this, Kasra.
Yeah, because of what I do between the years 2016 and 2020 before COVID, I had the privilege to travel quite a lot. So I've been to hundreds and hundreds of companies everywhere, almost everywhere in Europe. And by seeing all those manufacturing companies and seeing how different people are approaching same problems, whenever now I walk into a manufacturing plant, quickly I can pinpoint all their problems. And I don't have a superpower, but that's because I've seen loads of different analogies and different companies that they've been doing the same thing, and finding out which one is actually doing it more efficiently.
It's knowledge.
Yeah. Do you think we're gonna have to wrap this one up shortly, Kasra? We're going over our sort of half an hour that we try and aim for, but looking at all of the different sort of techniques we've considered, there's ones we should come back and talk about again, but things like, I was just thinking tool vend, like vending machines with tool in, so you don't buy too many, or you have enough and you don't run out, and all of these factors, the automated reordering of those. Cobots that can be moved around the factory from machine to machine in order to service the requirements of that machine tool at the time. How easy they are to program to give you more flexibility too. I suppose, Kasra, we have covered a lot in this, but is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of things that we can adopt in our machine shops? And you think things that you think, as the subject stated at the start of this, that we'll be starting to think out of the box now? What is going to happen? What are people going to implement over the coming years, and what changes will it make, do you think, to UK manufacturing?
I think cobots are going to have a big impact on the industry, because previously with the industrial robots, a lot of companies were a bit afraid to buy them because they need a lot of skill for programming them, and they need some sort of a facility to start using them. But cobots is just you have something like an iPad or iPhone. It's a very similar OS system that you can use, and we can see there are many companies, even Doosan, that are manufacturing of machines. They're building cobots, or you have Fanuc, or you have ABB, or you have KUKA. There are loads of companies that are producing these cobots with different platforms that helps the end user to easily change and program without having a very deep knowledge in programming languages.
No, it's. I'm going to go on a different theme, Paul, to the automation this time, but in a way, it is still automated.
Not about the food in your cupboards, is it?
But I kind of soon automate that very quickly. But I'm going to go for artificial intelligence. It's something that's it's already here. Not many people fully understand it, but I can see in the future now that people could potentially run a machine shop digitally in the cloud, because what you can do now with machine swap and some of this artificial intelligence, you can actually pull the machine tools from the cloud. The software will know all of the parameters of that machine tool, all of the strokes, speeds, feeds. If you had a particular component that was going on a multitasking machine and you wanted to switch it to a horizontal, for example, it can completely just change the program to suit, and you can just swap it from one machine to another. And these kind of virtual kind of machine shops are just around the corner, and I truly believe that. Scary, fully automated. You could be at home on a computer thinking, you know what, I'm going to put that component on that machine today because I've had this new component come in and it lends itself more to that machine, and everything's going to just be fully automated like that, and it's going to be the stable process and the process development of where the engineers are going to be required in the future.
It's a brilliant way to end, Gia. I mean, I always look at those two things that you talk about, artificial intelligence, as two separate things. I mean, you're artificial and I'm intelligent. Would you agree, Kasra?
And I'm getting fat and you're getting thin.
Kasra, brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us today. If anybody is interested in Kasra's services, he's got a fantastic reputation, for consulting when it comes to that next CNC machine purchase. Make sure you get it right. That's the most important thing, and I think that is probably a strapline that Kasra uses. Thanks for joining us today, Kasra, and I look forward to joining or doing a podcast and hopefully some videos with you in the near future.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Kasra.
And thank you, Gia. And
thanks, Paul.
That's it for this week's MTD podcast. Make sure you can, or you use the popular platforms to download our podcasts. We're across all platforms, Spotify, iTunes, all of them. And Gia, you know this better than me.
Absolutely, yeah. Make sure you download the podcast app on your smartphones and visit the MTDCNC website. You've got Podbean. You can find
we get about
us
5,000 listens per podcast at the moment.
It's ridiculous. I think it's gone absolutely crazy, but not just in the UK, around the world. We want to hear your feedback too, so please give us some feedback and let us know what you think about our podcast. We hope that we're educating the engineering industry, we're shedding some light, and we're hopefully kind of giving some solutions that people may look to adopt to make them more efficient. Till next week, the MTD Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the MTD Podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.